My dear friends, last week I touched on something intimidating, that if we are led by the Spirit, then we are enabled to do God's work, that we are set free to do the work that Jesus does. He's not a Superman figure with advantages that we don't have. No, we are called to do what Jesus does, even greater things than that, which, as I say, is a bit intimidating. What if we don't do them? I may have missed something, but we don't see a lot of Jesus figures around at the moment, and God knows we could do with some right now. So a few words about that this morning. What is our most important work? What is the work that is foundational to everything else that we might need to do, which gives us the fuel to go forward and walk in the path that God has set out for us? Our most important work is prayer. Prayer is the one thing necessary. The reason why we don't see so many Jesus figures around us is partly because we don't have eyes to see, but also because we don't know how to pray. One of the great failings of our Western Church is that it has forgotten how to share this fundamental task. Now, this might seem a counsel of despair, but this is not really a new situation. The beginning of our passage from Romans has Paul admitting that we don't know how to pray, and he gives a particular reassurance that the Spirit is praying within us at a deeper level than our own words. There is something very essential for us to grasp with this. We are taught in our modern culture that it is our own decisions that matter. Choice has become something of an idol, all the way from the breakfast cereals on supermarket shelves through to which way we might vote in a referendum on our national future. What we choose is held up as what defines us. This is not the Christian understanding. We are not defined by our own choices. No, we are defined by God's choice. God chose his people to become like Jesus so that his Son would be the firstborn among many brothers and sisters. In other words, we have been adopted into God's family. That is what defines us, not our choice. This is what is given to us. And who can dare accuse us, whom God has chosen for his own? As members of a family, and taking our identity from that relationship with God, with Christ, with our brothers and sisters in the faith, this sets us free from the burden of achievement. We do not have to strive with our wills and our choices to attain our own salvation. Rather, there is this paradoxical passivity buried in the heart of our faith. We have to allow God to work his will in us. Which brings me to a verse in this passage which is notoriously hard. Verse 28, commonly rendered as, "All things work for good for those who love God." This does not mean things will go well for us in this life, that loving God is our passport to worldly peace. As Paul puts it later on, does it mean he no longer loves us if various terrible things happen to us? For terrible things do happen to Christians, as Paul himself demonstrated. No, what it means is that if we love God, if we allow his will to take charge of our will, then there is no situation that we find ourselves in that cannot be redeemed. There is nothing that can separate us from God's love. Wherever we are, whoever we become, whatever circumstances we find ourselves in, God is there with us, working with us. And it is an us. Christians are a we before we are an I. We are members of a family. We are adopted as God's children. And just as with children in a human family, There is a vast amount going on around us, decisions being made which we know nothing about. All we need to know is that we are loved, and that if we join in with what the family is doing, then all shall be well, and all manner of things shall be well. Then we shall grow into our maturity, taking our place as part of the body, and the longings of the whole creation shall finally be fulfilled. Until we meet again. Amen.